My goal for this season is to do as minimal injury news and updates videos, but unfortunately we do have more to talk about here as another player was carted off from practice. But make sure you subscribe, follow along, that way you don't miss a single thing when it comes to the Falcons 2023 campaign. I am going to be sick. If Clark Phillips misses an extended amount of time, I am going to be sick. The Falcons suffered another injury in the secondary during their joint practice today with the Miami Dolphins. Fourth-round pick out of Utah, Clark Phillips, the corner, was carted off the field with an ankle injury. Now, the good news is that The Athletic's Josh Kendall tweeted out just before we started filming that according to a source, Phillips' injury is not considered to be too serious, and he is considered to be day-to-day, which I think this is just another point, if we're keeping score somewhere, of the cart is no longer the kiss of death. It comes out way more often than we probably like it to be because it just gives everyone a heart attack, but it does not mean your season's over, the cart's the Grim Reaper, we'll see you next year. It's going to take my brain a little while to get used to that, but we saw Jeff Okudah get carted off, Joe Burrow get carted off, Clark Phillips get carted off. A lot of players have been carted off throughout training camp. Not all of them have been lost for the season, but that was the injury news we had today. So we're going to break that down a little bit more. We're also going to go over some takeaways from the joint practice, but Orlando Ledbetter, tweeted out, Falcons rookie cornerback Clark Phillips is down with an injury. He can't put any pressure on his left ankle. Out comes the cart. So what does Atlanta's secondary look like if they are down another cornerback? Well, Jeff Okudah has been lost for what appears to be the remainder of training camp and the preseason. You need a Clark Phillips in the preseason. If there's one offseason that's most important for rookies, it's their first training camp, right? The time where they get acclimated to NFL game speed, learning the playbook. You just don't quite do that as well when you're standing on the sideline in a boot, in a cast. So hopefully Clark Phillips could return for at least one preseason game. I know you don't want to rush or jeopardize an injury, but you also don't want to see Clark Phillips get cooked in week 2 because he doesn't understand the play call and he is lost on an island and it gives up a wide open touchdown. That could have been preventable if you played some more in the preseason and in training camp. So we're going to have some other guys step up for sure. Armstrong, Hall, more players that are going to be called on. Trey Flowers, Mike Hughes, to fill that gap, fill that void in the cornerback room with Jeff Okudah and Clark Phillips down. Again, neither player expected to miss too much time, but potentially the remainder of the training camp and preseason portion. So let's show the new guy some love. Let's let him know that Dirty Birds fans have his back. Type his jersey number 34 down in the comment section. That way he knows, you know what? I'm in the right town. I'm in the right city. These are some of the best fans on earth. They've got my back. I was name searching myself. It's good to see a boatload of 34s in the comment section. Now, I do want to air out what producer Rolly had to say about this because he's on a golfing trip right now. He's back home. And pretty good picture, I think, of Rolly right there. Falcons cornerback room is getting decimated. Those were his words. So, could not agree more. The good news for Rolly, myself, and everyone watching is, just like when Okudah went down, the cart came out. It was not season ending. That also appears to be the case for Clark Phillips. But, Rolly, good luck on the links. It looks like you look a lot like Johnny Drama there. But we know how that round went for Drama. So, hopefully, it's going a little bit better for you. Now, in case you're wondering, the Falcons could look to add another cornerback with 2 guys down for the foreseeable future, at least. Casey Hayward may be coming back. Atlanta signed him to a 2-year contract, released him a few months ago. Maybe they bring him back on a cheaper 1-year contract. Ronald Darby is another name, although did he get signed? He had a visit somewhere. I can't even keep up. Troy Hill, Kyle Fuller, and William Jackson are some other at least recognizable cornerbacks still on the market. Now let's get into my joint practice takeaways with the Miami Dolphins. Troy Andersen, he is him. I have been a big fan of Troy Andersen. I was a fan of him coming out of Montana State. The guy screams linebacker. He's got his own built-in neck protector. You know the linebackers that have the neck guard on their shoulder pads? he was born with one. Troy Andersen picked off Tua in practice today, so it's good to see him not only be a good run stopper and a good blitzer, but he can also hang around in coverage and make some nice plays on the football. So good to see that from the second-year linebacker. Now, before we get to the rest of my takeaways, who is your breakout player for the Falcons this season? Troy Andersen is on my short list, no doubt about it. You can't go with any rookies. Rookies can't break out, in my opinion. I'm going to go with Troy Andersen. I also think Kyle Pitts looks like a top 5 pick this season. Fingers crossed. I hope that Arthur Smith has a good game plan for what is a Ferrari that's been in the garage for the first 2 years of his NFL career. Second takeaway now from South Beach. It was a good day for Atlanta's defensive line. We previewed this joint practice, or these two joint practices rather, and I talked about how will Atlanta's new revamped defensive line go up against not a great offensive line in Miami, but an okay one. Not one of the worst in the league. Well, maybe one of the worst, but not the worst. How about that? So Field Yates tweeted this out yesterday that I thought you guys should see in case you missed it. Falcons defensive lineman Calais Campbell has passed his physical and is off the PUP list. So good sign to see right there. If there's guys I don't need to see in the preseason, Calais Campbell is on that list. He might be like him and A.J. Terrell could be the only two guys I don't need to see in the preseason because he's 36 years old. He can't even remember how many training camps he's been to, but he knows how they operate. He's not there to be a new puppy trying to learn new tricks, right? He is there for the regular season. But I was excited to see how this front five would fare up against an opposing offensive line like the Dolphins and David Onyemata, Grady Jarrett, Bud Dupree. None of the big-name players made any huge splash plays, but it was fun to see some guys like, none of the huge-name players made too many big plays, but they did have some flashes for sure. Here's what D. Orlando Ledbetter tweeted out that had some more context to how the defensive line fared. Over 30 reps, counted 7 imaginary sacks. Not too shabby. Grady Onyemata and AK flashed, and Justin Jelly Ellis had a nice bull rush too. So good to see the defensive line winning some reps and looking much better than they were a season ago. Before we get to the rest of my takeaways from this joint practice, make sure you go take a visit to our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Chatsports.com/BetFalcons. Promo code Falcons125. When you do that, they're going to give you a 125% deposit bonus. So don't miss a thing when it comes to getting your cheddar down and making some moolah off preseason overs with yours truly. I am here to say my third takeaway is that I can confirm, breaking news, Tyreek Hill is good. He is very good. He torched Atlanta secondary today. He put Trey Flowers in a blender. It was a brutal highlight to watch. So we can confirm that a guy who gets paid $30 million a season is good, and he looked good against the Falcons. Am I going to panic? No, because he would look good against any team in the preseason, in the regular season, or in the postseason. He's Tyreek Hill. I'm not going to be alarmed by this. What else did you expect? Fourth takeaway I've got is if you're looking for a winner from this joint practice, I'd go with the Dolphins. Their offense probably moved the ball down the field a little bit better than the Falcons did. Both sides had some nice wins, had some nice moments. I don't think either side came out of the joint practice thinking we are right where we want to be going into week 1 of the regular season. They still have a lot of things they want to practice and work on. They're going to have another joint practice on Wednesday, so we'll have some more updates for you tomorrow. But all in all, if you're looking for a winner, sure, I guess it would have been the Dolphins. But at the same time, the Falcons got their fair share of wins in there too. It's the first joint practice before the first preseason game. It's nothing to even reach for a panic button over. But there you have it, my takeaways from the joint practice between Atlanta and Miami. Now let's get into our draft today, which is building the perfect dream bar. Smitty, the 1-1.
1-1. This should have been unanimous. It's a jukebox, Touchstones, especially if you could choose your own music in the bar. That's automatic. I love to go in there.
My first selection, I went with darts. I'm not a huge darts guy necessarily, but if you ever play electronic darts at a bar where it keeps score for you and everything, it's going to captivate you for like 2 hours minimum. You get a bucket of beers, you're not leaving that darts board. So for me, it's a great addition to any bar.
I like that pick. That's why I had to follow it up with pool table at number 3. It was the only other true bar game that was acceptable in the top 4 list like this. So I had to include it and snag it in the second round.
So this next one is the old man and me talking here, but I'm going to go with elite bar stools. What do I mean by that? I'm talking like Larry David. I don't want uneven bar stools or tabletops or something like that. Maybe even a backrest. I want to be comfortable. So for me, I don't want any crappy bar stools. I want some good stuff to sit on because I am not standing in a bar for more than 10 minutes.
Now, my next pick, I went with Dollar Draft Night. This is one you don't see too often anymore. This world is getting too expensive, but if you can find that good dive bar with a good Dollar Draft Night, then this is a must. You have to go in.
The number 6 overall pick, I'm going to go with Beer and Wing Night. In college, we had a beer and wing promo deal I think it was every Thursday, and it was $5 pitcher of beers and half-cent wings. It was my favorite day of the week. It was a Thursday. It was beer and wings uptown, so you can't go wrong with it. It's the best combination out there.
And with my last pick, I think this is a steal. Peanuts and free snacks. My grandparents owned a bar for a long time, and from what I heard, I was a young child at the time and not even born yet for half of it. There was always peanuts, pretzels, trail mix on the bar. That's such a perfect thing to have, especially if you're not serving food for most of the time in general.
That's a great selection right there. To wrap it up, I went with my favorite pick. It's trivia night. Yours truly hosts trivia at a bar every single Tuesday. Smitty plays, so good to see how intelligent he is. And he does pretty well, I'm not going to lie. But trivia night, it's a great addition to any bar. It gets the people going. Love me some sports trivia. Love me trivia in general. But that is our draft for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, all that cliche stuff. We'll catch up later.